been a while. Welcome back to my channel. I know it has been a very long time since I've posted anything, but I am here to update you on what's going on and where I have been. After our third IUI, if you haven't seen that video, go back and watch it. It was such a mess of a cycle. We finished our third IUI and waited the 2 weeks. It did work. I did get pregnant from our third IUI. It was very exciting, and I just couldn't believe that we had gotten our first positive in 3 years. So after you're pregnant from fertility treatment, your doctor will see you come in every other day for blood work to ensure that your HCG is rising. And mine started to rise, looked good. And then my third blood work appointment, it stayed the same, but my progesterone had dropped, which is not a good thing. And they called me and said that they weren't very optimistic about this pregnancy. And then I went back 2 days later and my HCG had dropped along with my progesterone even more. So I did miscarry. So that's where I've been. I've been processing and grieving. But yeah, so our third IUI did work. I did miscarry, unfortunately. It was really hard to process at first because we were so excited that it actually worked, and I thought that a miscarriage would never happen to me. I always thought once we got a positive, we were good to go. So that was very hard to process, but the silver lining is that it did work, and that in itself was exciting. So yeah, so that is where I have been. So that is my update from our third IUI. I found out I was pregnant on March 21st. I was 5 weeks, 6 days when my HCG started dropping. I started miscarrying in April. Life has been hectic ever since. I got a new car. My birthday was in April. I was processing and grieving. We switched fertility clinics. We had to get reestablished with a new clinic. So I was with Kind Body, and then we switched to Texas Fertility Center. We weren't fully happy with Kind Body. Everyone was really nice. We didn't switch because I miscarried. We switched for many other reasons. The plan was to switch fertility clinics anyways after our third IUI. If it didn't work, obviously if it worked and stayed, we would have, graduated from that clinic, then gone to my OB. But the plan was always to switch after the third IUI if we had to continue with fertility clinics, because they are a 70-minute drive from our house. That was the main reason. Gas and just the long drive. If I had an 8 a.m. appointment, I had to leave at 6:30 to make it in time, find parking, because you also can't park in front of the clinic. You have to park in a parking garage and then walk a few blocks to the clinic, so you have to allot for 10 more minutes of parking and walking. Also, just their policies around COVID things. Now, I know medical offices are still cautious, and I'm happy to wear a mask, but their policies were a little more strict, where your partner, my husband, wasn't even allowed to go to any monitoring appointments. He was only allowed at my procedure appointments. So that felt really lonely, not having him there. And he also wanted to be there. He's lucky enough to be able to go with me to every appointment, and it was frustrating for him not to be there because he has questions too. So it felt very lonely and isolating from Kindbody that my partner couldn't be there to support me during the monitoring appointments. So that was also frustrating and started to get old after a while. I just wanted him there, and it was unfortunate that they are so strict about that. The other reason being that at my monitoring appointments, I never saw the doctor, which was kind of crazy to me. Now, if this had been my only experience at a fertility clinic, I wouldn't know any different, but I have prior experience with other clinics, so I found it very weird that the doctor is only at the initial consultation and only the procedures, so you don't get to see the actual doctor for any of your monitoring appointments or anything. So there's no communication. It's just you and an ultrasound tech and sometimes a nurse, which, by the way, the turnover was crazy as well. So sometimes at a monitoring appointment, I'd be introduced to a new nurse that was now my nurse, and I'd have to kind of go back into my story and how long we've been trying, you know, just the whole spiel that I've already gone over a million times with other people. So that was also frustrating. The turnover was very high on nurses and blood techs, and just getting to know people every appointment was frustrating and stressful in itself. I never felt that special. I know that they have a lot of people that come in there, but just having one nurse, one doctor makes a huge difference to just get to know your team and know that your team is your advocate. It never felt like I had a team of advocates for myself because there was constantly someone new. I never saw the doctor. It was only my ultrasound tech and sometimes a nurse at my appointments. It was hard to ask my questions because of course they're not the doctor, so they give me, you know, an answer, but had to say, you know, the doctor will go over everything and let you know later. And I never got answers till 5 p.m., which was frustrating, so I had to wait all day to hear from the doctor on what the plan is and what we're gonna do next, and let's change medication and all this stuff. So that was frustrating. So all those things combined, the long drive, my husband not being allowed, never seeing the doctor, just kind of made me put up my hands and go, I need to move on. I'm so happy we did, because we are now with Texas Fertility Center. It is a 35-minute drive for us versus 70. Makes a huge difference. They have a parking lot in front of the clinic, so we're not having to park, get a parking garage ticket, and then get out the car and walk a few blocks. We're able to park and go straight in. That made a huge difference. They advocate for your partner to be there at as many appointments as they can be, which is amazing. So my husband has been able to go with me to every single appointment, ask his questions, and just be there and hear what's going on. Our doctor is also at every appointment, so we get to see him every single time, and he is amazing. And getting to see him at every appointment makes me feel like he's actually getting to know me and my situation and advocating for me. So that's been a huge difference. Our new clinic is cheaper than the old clinic. Not by much, by a few $100s, but that makes a big difference too. So at Kindbody, you pay just a flat fee of $1,700. That's for your IUI cycle. All the monitoring appointments, blood work, the procedure, it's just a flat fee from the very start. Of course, you still have to pay for medication out of pocket. So that's about another $200 to $300. So that's already $2,100 per IUI cycle. So we did 3 of those with Kindbody. We spent, with initial consultation, initial blood work, probably $8,000 or $9,000 with Kindbody since September. With our new clinic, you don't pay a flat fee from the start. You pay per thing you do. A monitoring ultrasound is $230. The IUI itself is $227. The sperm wash that they do is $200 something. Of course, you need multiple monitoring appointments, like 2 or 3, so $233 each time. And then, of course, your medication and blood work. But they are way cheaper by a few $100s. We saved money by not driving as far for gas. The procedure and monitoring appointments being paid separately make the whole thing cheaper. So I do like that structure better than just a flat fee. Our new clinic's cheaper, closer. They allow my husband. I see the doctor every time. It's a strong, small team. It has been a breath of fresh air. So we switched clinics in April after the miscarriage, and of course we had to wait for my HCG to go down to 0 and for another cycle to start. Our initial plan was to only do 3 IUIs and then jump up to IVF if we didn't get a positive by the 3rd IUI. But since we did, our new clinic said we can do 2 to 3 more IUIs. Since we know it worked doing an IUI, they did say we could do a few more IUIs if we wanted. So we thought we would try it. So in May, when I started my cycle, we did our baseline appointment. Everything looked good to go. My HCG had gone down. And so we started with the higher dosage of 7.5 milligrams of letrozole or Femara for the 5 nights. And then I had my first monitoring appointment and nothing was growing. They did grow a little bit, but my biggest one was a 10 millimeters where I was so used to the higher dosage giving me bigger follicles, so I was kind of disappointed by that. So because things were kind of quiet and not growing that much, our doctor right away was like, you're gonna do 3 more nights of 10 milligrams of letrozole right away. There wasn't, oh, let's get you in for another monitoring appointment and just see if they're actually growing before we up the dosage, which is what my experience was at the old clinic. They did 2 or 3 measurement appointments before deciding if they wanted to up your dosage. So I liked that there was a game plan right away. So I did the 3 extra nights of 10 milligram letrozole pills, and then at my second monitoring appointment I had 1 very large follicle on my right side. It was 25, which I've never had one that big, but everything else was still under 13. So he said, whoa, we have to do this tomorrow before it releases itself and we miss our window, which we didn't even have our Ovidril shot even ordered, because I was so used to doing 2 or 3 monitoring appointments, getting Ovidril ordered like at your second one. So I was expecting to start ordering our medication at the second monitoring appointment and then having a third and then scheduling the IUI. But no, he was like, we have to do this tomorrow before we miss our window. I'm gonna have you go pick up your Ovidril instead of waiting for it to ship to you. Once you pick it up, do it immediately, and then we'll schedule it for tomorrow morning. So that was kind of surprising. It moved very fast. I had to go to work after our appointment. So instead of dropping my husband off at home and then leaving for work, I had him drive me to the pharmacy, which thankfully is like 5 minutes from my job. We picked up the Ovidril injection. We did it in the car so we could just get it in my system. Which, if any of you have done your trigger shot in a weird place, please comment below. I thought it was crazy and funny at the same time that we're just in this parking lot doing a belly injection. We did our trigger shot in the car, and then he dropped me off at work. I was able to find coverage, so thankfully I was able to get off for the following day for our 4th IUI. It's been really hard to pick up the camera, so I haven't been filming anything. So we did our 4th IUI, and it's already been the 2 weeks, and unfortunately it did not work. It's a big fat negative. I kind of had some similar symptoms to our 3rd IUI, so I was really hopeful that it worked again. And in my head, to me, I was like, well, my body was just pregnant. It's gonna remember what to do. So I just expected it to be that easy. Our 4th IUI was a fail. That was kind of hard to hear. It's not fun anymore. I mean, it was never fun, but it's been a lot. So there is my life update. We got a big fat positive from our 3rd IUI. I miscarried. We switched clinics. We did our 4th IUI, which was negative. And now, present time, it is now Sunday, June 12th, and we go to our clinic on Tuesday, June 14th to have a consultation, if you will, about next steps. After I did the HCG blood test on Tuesday the 7th to find out if our 4th IUI had worked, they called and of course told me it was negative, and then asked if we wanted to jump straight into another IUI round or kind of what we were thinking, so she could take our idea to our doctor and see what he said. I ended up asking if we can maybe try Clomid for our next round, or what he thinks about changing it up a little, because my body is so used to letrozole. Like, we had the dosage to 10 milligrams, which is really high. So I asked if we can maybe change the medication or what she thinks. I also brought up our trip. We have a trip in July in about 4 weeks. So I was a little stressed on the timing thing, if we would have enough time to do a 4th IUI and 2-week wait on top of that before our trip, or I would be in a 2-week wait on our trip, which probably wouldn't be a lot of fun. So she took all that and went to our doctor and called me on Friday and told me that he does not recommend another IUI. He recommends IVF at this stage in our infertility journey. I never thought we would get here. I was optimistic we would get it with an IUI, which, I mean, we did, but it obviously didn't stick around. Tuesday, June 14th, we go in for our first IVF consultation to ask all our questions and get a game plan. Of course, I don't want to start IVF until we get back from our trip in July. We're still going to the consultation to, talk about financing, see if there's any type of test he recommends I get done in the next 4 weeks before we start IVF. That's my life update. Sorry this video is just me rambling, but I had to catch you guys up. Thank you to everyone who has commented and messaged me and followed me along on my Instagram. I update more live on Instagram than I have been on here. I appreciate this community so much. It is so supportive and I couldn't be more grateful. Like and subscribe. Please follow along my journey, especially now going into IVF. It's definitely going to be a roller coaster ride, but I'm looking forward to this next step and excited that we're changing it up. So thank you so much for following along and being patient with me, and I will definitely try to post more often. Comment below if you have any tips on what I should ask in my IVF consult, or if you remember being here before your first IVF consult. It's kind of nerve-wracking and kind of surreal. But thank you so much, and I will see you next time.